Hi, Deborah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deborah King, and I am a breakthrough coaching speaker. And I'm going to answer some more questions today. And just to let you know, if you haven't watched any of the videos, I have another person here with me, and they're going to ask me some questions. And let's just get stuck in.
All right. I was going to say it's very, very cold today.
Depends where you're watching this from. If anybody's watching this from Florida or somewhere, they might not be cold, but it's very cold
The
here in
Irish
Northern
will
Ireland.
say it's very cow.
Kyle.
It's cow.
Depends on the accent. That's a whole lot of podcast. Kyle. It's very cold today. It's cold today.
It is.
Not everybody says that, but yeah. Okay, anyway,
But
we
love-
digress.
yeah.
We digress.
I love it though.
Kyle, it is Kyle.
Get your boots on.
Mm-hmm.
So Deborah, today we're talking about limiting beliefs. And when people talk about limiting beliefs, like for me, I always until I came to understand it a bit, I always associate it with religious beliefs. Like what's your limiting beliefs? There are so many limiting beliefs. What do you think? I'm like, oh, is that religious belief? Maybe from where I come from.
Okay.
What is your opinion, or what is your idea? What do you think of what limiting beliefs are?
That's very interesting, because that's not something that I would even enter my head. But that's very interesting in the fact that, yeah, belief, kind of like religious belief. That's probably, I'm trying to think, that's probably where we hear the word beliefs more.
Yeah.
Because when I was first introduced to the phrase limiting beliefs, I was unaware. Yeah, I was unaware of kind of what that meant. So we were told when I went to my training that I did, we were told or asked to bring along a limiting belief that we had, that we wanted to change. Now, I had already done the first level of the training, but it actually was quite, not difficult, but it takes a bit of thought to figure out what is my limiting belief, because unless you have an awareness or you focus on that, you don't think you have a limiting belief. So let me just explain, yes, what a limiting belief in general is.
Yeah.
As I see it, it's basically a belief that you have that limits you in some way, say in your life or in your business or in your own mind. So it's a belief that you have. So something that you believe, and they say that a belief is something that you just keep thinking. So if you keep saying, I believe this, or I believe this, or for example, I can't do this, or I can't. That's a big red flag for a limiting belief. I can't do this. I can't. That's a huge sort of indicator of a limiting belief. But unless somebody asks you that question, I think a lot of people don't even consider what a limiting belief is. Maybe more a belief, and that's maybe mostly associated with religion and stuff, or more commonly understood as that. But yeah, limiting belief is anything that you believe. So anything that we tell ourselves, anything that we keep saying to ourselves, about something that we keep saying and telling ourselves that we believe to be true, something that we believe to be true.
I'm not true.
But the limiting part of it is that it limits us in some way in our life. So if we keep saying, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't, whatever it is, pass that exam, earn that much money, have that type of relationship, I can't be like this, I can't, just anywhere we say can't, it kind of, for a lot of people, now this isn't speaking to everybody, but for a lot of people that shuts you down. It's like, yeah. I can't, so I can't.
Is that associated with fear also? Because if you, as in, if you are limited in your beliefs in doing something, then it's associated with, you have fear of achieving your goals, or fear of pushing through something that you want to do, but you can't do it because you believe that you're not able to.
That's a big thing. Yeah. That's probably where most people would be able to recognize it, is maybe a fear of something, or a program. It can be programmed into you that I don't know, maybe that girls can't do X, Y, Z, or boys can't do X, Y, Z, or people of a certain age can't do X, Y, Z. That's not possible.
Mm.
That's not possible. So, and it actually could take a minute, because I think a lot of us just go through life thinking that life is life, and we're grand and we're fine and we're nothing wrong with us, and you know,
Yeah.
what do you mean limiting belief? And whenever I'll give you the example, so for example of a really simple limiting belief that I realised, and I brought this to my training session to do my second level of training, and what I realised was that it took a bit of soul searching, and what I believed was, what I came up with was that I believe that pavlovas are the hardest thing to bake.
Pavlova.
Oh. Now, for anybody that bakes pavlovas out there, or is a good baker, chef, whatever you want to call it, I apologise, and feel free to laugh. But yes, I really like pavlovas, and my mother also likes pavlovas, and she's always liked pavlovas, and up until a number of years back, we had never baked a pavlova or tried to bake a pavlova, because I realised in my brain I had this thing of pavlovas are the hardest thing to bake. They're the hardest thing to bake because, well, my mother said they were the hardest thing to bake. She never baked one. She'd been alive longer than me, and she'd never tried to bake one. My mother had baked other things, but she'd never tried a pavlova. And yeah, I just realised I had this belief. Now, you might say that's not life or death or whatever, but I just had this belief that pavlovas were the hardest thing to bake, and neither of us had ever baked one. And, you know, I'd heard the stories, probably mostly from my mum. This isn't slagging my mum, this is just an example. I love my mum. This is just an example. But this whole idea of, it depends on, you know, when you bake the pavlova, you have to put it at a certain temperature, and then you have to keep the oven door open, or you have to open it, or you're not allowed to open it. Oh, don't open the door until it's completely cold. And then you had to have vinegar, and then some people didn't put vinegar in, and oh, it'll not sit like a pavlova. And there was all these. It was mostly about the oven was the biggest issue, that pavlovas were the hardest thing to bake. And I just realised that the limiting belief is a belief that doesn't serve you. And I thought, well, it doesn't serve me because I really like pavlova, and how handy would it be to be able to bake one rather than have to keep going buying one somewhere, costing me money, and maybe there's no pavlova there at the time, or the shop doesn't have pavlova left. So sorry, it's a lot about pavlovas. This is not a cooking show. This is about health and well-being. But I had this belief that pavlovas were the hardest thing to bake, and I had recognized this belief, and I brought this belief to the training session that we did, and that's what my belief was. And the amazing thing about it was to sit there and say, okay, my limiting belief is pavlovas are the hardest thing to bake. The reason it's important to uncover our limiting beliefs is it was stopping me from making a pavlova. Now, it's not life or death. It wasn't, you know, winning an Olympic medal or all that, but just having that awareness, understanding our limiting beliefs brings us an awareness. And awareness is actually key to a lot of healing, a lot of personal development, a lot of growth, a lot of improving your life, having a personal awareness. And I remember the teacher just saying, or the tutor saying, do you want to keep that limiting belief? And I was like, no, I'd like to be able to bake a pavlova. I'd like to be able to do that, but I'd never thought of baking one ever. And you know, she did 2 hours of therapy on me. No, she didn't. She basically said, well, why don't you just change the belief? Like, not everything's easier said than done, but so I basically just sat there and reflected and thought, well, what if I believed that pavlovas were the easiest thing to bake? But it took me to have this conversation with this tutor in this class for that to even enter my head. So it doesn't really enter our heads a lot of what's limiting us, what's stopping us, what's not serving us. So that was the amount of therapy I got, a few minutes of, do you want to have that belief? If that belief's not serving you, if that belief's not good for you or benefiting you, which it wasn't because I wanted to eat pavlova, then how can we change it? And all I decided was, from this point forward, I'm going to choose to believe that pavlovas are the easiest thing to bake. And I came home from the training, because we have to follow up with action as well. But like I said, we kind of talked about conscious mind. So I was consciously aware of this limiting belief, came home, and I asked my mother for recipes of pavlovas. And yes, feel free to laugh. Anybody that's laughing at the video that's baked a pavlova. And apologies to any chefs and bakers who I'm about to insult. But I baked pavlovas. I looked at the ingredients and it was basically eggs and sugar. Eggs and sugar. Like
Egg, sugar, vanilla, and
there's a pavlova baker in the room. There's a pavlova baker in the room. But yes, this is the thing.
And a bit of corn flour.
Corn flour was corn flour vinegar and salt, vanilla. Right.
Sugar.
So I'm going to tell you, I have baked pavlovas without vinegar, without corn flour, because I didn't have any in the cupboard. I have baked them without whatever, without the vanilla. And you know what? They kind of all turned out like a pavlova.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh my God, even if you didn't put all the ingredients in, it still turned out like pavlova because I had decided they were going to be the easiest thing to make.
So you made the Deborah way of pavlova.
I apologise for all the pavlova bakers. I know that's maybe an insult, but and it'll not happen with everything, and I wasn't selling it in a 5-star restaurant, okay? But they basically all turned out like pavlovas. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't taste the difference. Now, maybe an expert would taste the difference, but I didn't taste the difference. It was a pavlova. Shove a bit of cream on it. Bob's your uncle. But I realised, I had this really powerful realisation of, oh my goodness, if that's what I think of a pavlova, if that's what I think, if I have a limiting belief about a pavlova and can ease that was something I was easily able to change my belief around.
Yes.
Not everything's that easy, but some things are.
Yeah.
What do I really believe? What kind of limiting beliefs do I have about other things, about life and about relationships, about sex, about money, about people, about my own abilities,
to do things.
So it actually was what seemed like a silly limiting belief.
Yeah.
Actually made me look at things a whole different way.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pavlova taught me about limiting
and
beliefs.
So many people have limited beliefs and it's affecting them achieving their own goals and achieving their own stuff in life.
It keeps you stuck.
It keeps you stuck.
It can keep you stuck. Yeah. And like for me, I didn't even try to bake one. I didn't even attempt to bake one because this belief system was running around in my mind and in my subconscious. Right. So it can limit us. So what is it that you would like to change in your life but you think you can't? Yeah. And maybe you can. Yeah. But you have to look at your thoughts and your beliefs around it. Yeah. You know.
So what?
I want pictures of your pavlova sent in the comments below.
Comments below.
Anyone who's never baked a pavlova, there's your challenge. Go bake a pavlova, eggs and sugar, honestly.
But in terms of, it's not really about pavlova. It's about the healing side of things and the beliefs of things and not being fearful of achieving things that you want to achieve.
Yeah. But that first step is awareness.
Yes.
Awareness.
Yeah.
And I challenge everybody. Yeah. What do you have a limiting belief? Because it took me ages to figure one out. Yeah. But then when you start to realize what it is, then you can start to maybe recognize other things. So it's only if it's limiting you. Yeah. It's only
subscribe
if you want to change. Know. Yeah, I want
let
photographs
Deborah know. Well, anyway, so enough of pavlova. Well, why is that important in healing?
Well, it's like you said, it's important to know because we can hold ourselves back so much. Okay. We can hold ourselves back and limit ourselves to the life that we can have. Yeah. It's just a whole other topic. But we can limit ourselves. So if there's something limiting us that we want to change or that we would benefit from changing, having an awareness of that is the first key. Having an awareness of how we're limiting ourselves is the first key. And like I said, some things can be changed really easily.
Well, that has resurfaced my own awareness anyway. Awareness anyway.
And you can change your life, change your beliefs.
Yeah. You know? So I'm going to look forward to that in changing it. Anyway, what would you like to say to your lovely audience?
I just want to say to everybody that if you didn't have all those limiting beliefs, for example, trapped in your subconscious, what would you do if you had all those tools and resources and all those positive beliefs or more beneficial beliefs? Who would you be if you were all that you are?